Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope your night is a great one. I'm going to get right to it and let's talk about what's happening because it really is something that we need to really talk about and flesh out and so we can have the proper view of all of this. Okay, because right now I think there's are people who just don't have a clue, and I don't mean to be insulting. That's just how I look at it. Uh, that's just how I look at it. It's this all started for me with a comment that was made or a tweet that was produced, I should say, on Twitter by an account. I don't know the person who runs the account. I don't know the person's name or actual location or anything. Uh, Calls themselves Match Analysis. Okay, and Match Analysis um, was caught up in looking at the data that was produced from the Alameda County Registrar of Voters. Fine, okay, but then insisted that okay, well, Sheng Thao wins. Essentially, that's it. And I kept saying, well, actually, it's not because win or lose, Sheng Thao is still in trouble. So right here, Match Analysis tweets: the public ethics isn't about a campaign violation, though. It's about misappropriating staff as council member. If the ethics complaint is valid, the campaign wasn't at fault. The fault would lie on the other side. Tao's legal, HR, human resource responsibilities, supervisor, CM, I am just disqualification seems unlikely. That is completely 1,000,000% wrong. And in order to prove that, what I did very quickly was I went to the Oakland City Attorney Office webpage. Uh, it's really shocking the number of people that are in Oakland who say they pay attention to politics, but are completely unaware of what the law allows a person to do and not to do. Oh, and on that note alone, I have to remark this city has really gone downhill in its understanding of its own government in a lot of ways. This is one of them. Okay, and so let me show you what I'm talking about when I make that claim uh, right here, and it has to do with what the Ethics Commission says regarding campaign activities. Now, all right, it's right here in black and white. What is this? This is right straight from what I call the horse's mouth, if you will. And the horse's mouth is campaign activity PDF, all right, that you can get. It's oaklandcityattorney.org /PDFS /legal opinions campaign, all right? And the introduction is here, and it reads, and I'll blurt this out. It writes, the city attorney's office and the Public Ethics Commission receive many requests for advice about laws regarding regulating campaign-related and other political activity by elected officials, city officers, and city employees and candidates for city elected offices to ensure that the public, city employees and officials and candidates have the same information. The city attorney and the Public Ethics Commission provide answers to frequently asked FAQs in the 3 areas defined below. Note, this memorandum is a general guide and does not constitute legal advice, as the specific facts and circumstances must be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And that is particularly true in this instance because this is written as if you have 2 separate situations: a candidate running for office, all right, and then city officers and city employees, all right, and candidates for city elected offices. But what we're talking about here is one person who is a council member who is running for an office yet again, in this case, mayor, and the allegations of impropriety that she faces. And so this goes on to read: advice from the city attorney and or the Public Ethics Commission does not insulate a candidate or elected official from a charge or adverse ruling by the State Fair Political Practices Commission or other agencies. You hear that? Or other agencies, which means this can go higher than just the Public Ethics Commission. Understand what I'm getting at? It can go higher. I want you to focus in on this. This can go higher than the Public Ethics Commission. All right. This is where it starts. This is already an active investigation. This is already an active investigation. Okay. It is already an active investigation. All right. So, right here. All right. Let me just back up just a bit. All right. This is an active investigation. So, and then it writes candidates should consult legal counsel right here regarding their specific questions and the pertinent facts and circumstances regarding their participation in political activities. And it's quite clear Councilmember Thao's office didn't do that because they kept picking at and arguably got a local nonprofit news, if you will, publication to start digging up dirt on LeAna Powell and threatening to put it out on her in an email directly to her. That's what Oakland side did. All right. Darren Bongram I've said this before, and I'll say it again, an email to Ms. Powell, such that arguably, a number of people agree, he should be in jail. And I'm not saying that'll happen, but that's how upset the numbers of people that I've shown this to were. And these include people who have been donors to Oakland side. All right. So there's a lot of problems here, and a lot done by people who you would think know better, but really have behaved at a level of ridiculousness that is unimaginable. Okay. Unimaginable. But what this reads is, and I continue, summary: use of city resources for political activities. City and other public resources may not be used to campaign or advocate for or against candidates or ballot measures. City resources include, but are not limited to, city computers and software, city email, city equipment such as printers and copiers, city property, and employees' work time. Employees' work time is specifically and precisely the issue that LeAna Powell filed her complaint about. That was the heart of her complaint. And from that branched all the other examples of mistreatment, like, for example, being told she was hired to do one thing, then given another job, being told she was going to be hired at a certain pay weight, and then given another one, lower. And the list goes on. All classic employee violations, which are finable at the very least. Okay? At the very least. Folks, these do not vanish when a person wins elected office. Sheng Thao is carrying these with her. Okay? This then goes on to talk about other issues that are related. B, political activities by city elected officials, candidates, employees, and boards and commissions. City officials and employees may participate in political activities or campaigns while off duty and on their own personal time. All right? Officials and employees may not engage in political activities while on duty or in a city-owned building. City boards, commissions, and departments may not endorse or take a position on campaigns. Candidates may use their city titles and campaign materials only for identification purposes. Okay? And so there are other issues that have to be considered as well. For example, candidates and city staff may not solicit contributions while on city time or using city resources, which include but are not limited to city equipment and property. I believe that's another focus of the complaint. Candidates, including city employees and non-city employees, may not solicit contributions from city officers and employees unless they make their request as part of a solicitation to a larger segment of the public. Candidates, such as city employees and officials, may not accept contributions in city buildings, such as City Hall. However, they may accept contributions at City Plaza, parks, and so on. Okay? And then it goes on. The point that I'm making is that the city of Oakland has an extensive list of do's and don'ts that must be followed, and it's quite clear that they weren't paid attention to by Councilmember Thao's office. And her cavalier treatment of LeAna Powell, ostensibly thinking that because she was a Black woman under her direction and that no one would take her seriously, never occurred to her or any of her staffers, including those who are Black, that these would be issues at all, that they were actually treating her inappropriately. None of that happened at all. And I'm sorry, folks, we have a tendency to treat each other the worst. We talk about problems of white supremacy and racism, and then when one of us gets into a position under an organization that is overarchingly seen as powerful, or if you will, white-like in its behavior, the first thing that we have a tendency to do is to act out against somebody else who is Black. It happens again and again and again in ways large and small, and this is yet another example of it with respect to how LeAna Powell, was treated as an officer to Sheng Thao as council member, but was bullied and forced and demanded into work on the council member's election campaign, even on city office time. This, folks, and all of the other problems that went with it, including how she was harassed online by Brandon Harami, will haunt Councilmember Thao into the mayor's office if she gets there. That's why, from my perspective, it doesn't matter where it turns. If she loses, Sheng still has the problem. If she wins, she carries the problem into the mayor's office. And then, depending on how the PUC report comes out, if it's so severe that it requires punishment, she could lose her job. And if even that doesn't happen, there will be a cloud of suspicion governing and directing and influencing everything that she does, to a point where the likelihood of an attempt at recall will be faster than normal. You hear what I'm saying? Sheng will not have a honeymoon. Sheng Thao will not have a honeymoon. Sheng Thao will not have a honeymoon. Because the way that she handled this, once it was out in the open, wasn't to express any sorrow for Ms. Powell or desire to help her or attempt to bring her into the campaign and clean up the way that she treated her. No, it was to double down on criticism of LeAna Powell at a time when we have 60% of African Americans, those are homeless in Oakland, African American. Many of them working, with Miss Powell trying to raise 4 kids with her husband, and all of a sudden finding that her income was cut out from under her after just 3 months on the job for things that she didn't do wrong. All right? And poor LeAna is out there wondering if people are going to just forget about her. No, they're not going to forget about you at all. And so I'm saying to anybody who doesn't want to listen, this is an active investigation that involves legal violations of a former City of Oakland employee by a candidate for the office of mayor. Don't forget that. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. And that ends this broadcast. Thank you.